Speaking of Tanner, we've got his pick of the week, which was the 2015 film Look Who's Back.
That's right, guys. Look Who's Back is a sort of film. It's a film about what if Hitler woke up one day in 2014 modern day Germany, and he decides that things have gone to shit while I was missing, and the German people need to hear my message again. And it's just kind of showing him rise to power again, basically. It cuts off before he actually does get any power, but there's nothing standing in his way, so to speak.
There's implications.
Yeah. Fun fact about this movie is a lot of the sections where he's actually talking to common people, those are unscripted Borat type situations where they just put the guy in costume and had him walk around in public and talk to people.
Okay, see, that actually was going to be one of my questions, because I noticed
That's why there's scenes where people's faces are, blurred out.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell if that was just, a director's choice or whatever, because, it could add to, I guess, it's not even found footage, just the depth of, the documentary vibe to the movie. But, part of me was what if, it'd be super sweet if, they just dressed this guy up in a Hitler costume and had him walk around Germany and just had him talk to random people unscripted. Well, obviously, some parts of this movie are very scripted.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very, I haven't seen a movie do that before, and if they have, it wasn't as obvious as this, I guess, or I haven't had a discussion about it. But this movie was very creative with its ideas. Also, I wouldn't have ever guessed, besides it, having Hitler on, I wouldn't have guessed it's a straight up German movie. I didn't expect it to be in German, let me say that, I guess. But yeah, I like how this movie, it was pretty funny, so I can appreciate, I think there was a comedy value they were going for, which I think they got pretty well. The acting in this movie was very, very good. At least to me, and I think the way that it paced itself was very, very well done. The one part that's tripping me up is at the very end, or close to the end, because obviously the main dude, the filming guy, he ends up in some kind of psych ward at the end of the movie, and so now I'm left wondering, and I think this was the intention of the movie, I'm left wondering at the end, because obviously him being in the psych ward wasn't part of the filming process. At what point did he get thrown in there, and where did it stop being our movie and it came their movie? Because obviously, it cut back to them finishing up his documentary or whatever, I
don't know, and I don't know if that's that important. Okay, I want to have a serious big boy discussion about what happens in this film.
Uh-oh.
So, slight add-on to my fun fact about, the guerrilla filming. So, originally, this movie was very much supposed to be just a straight-up comedy, making fun of Hitler, basically. The problem is, when they started shooting those guerrilla scenes, they got very unexpected reactions. And by unexpected reactions, I mean people actually kind of embracing him, not, spitting on him or beating him up or anything. People, earnestly telling him their concerns about what is happening in Germany. And, this threw them off so much that they kind of had to change the whole tone of the movie to fit those scenes. And, I read this article that was an interview with the director, and, he was so massively taken aback by these reactions. And one line that really stood out from the interview was him saying, I guess these people haven't learned from history or whatever. And that really just set my brain off, because no, you're just kind of a dumb fuck. I think the way we get taught in school, and apparently how the Germans also get taught in school, about Hitler and the rise of Hitler is just not useful and bordering on negligent. The two big questions I think this film is seeking to answer in sort of a comedic introspective way is, how did Hitler rise to power, and how do we stop another Hitler from rising to power? And these are usually the two questions that most history classes that you take in, public education on this are trying to answer as well. And the lessons that we typically are told to walk away with is that Hitler was like a uniquely charismatic figure, and the German people were just blinded by ignorance and hatred. And that's how he came to power. And therefore, the way you avoid another Hitler is, like, be careful of charismatic speakers. And all you have to do is spot the next Hitler, and then you can stop him. And these
that guy's charming! Let's fucking put him to death!
Exactly. These are both deeply retarded lessons that have apparently been internalized by a huge portion of the population. The biggest problem I see here is like, okay, let's say you do successfully spot the real Hitler, as some people did in this movie. If you are in a democratic system, how do you stop him even if you spot him? The only way to do that would be to undermine your own system. So like, I thought this movie like kind of accidentally becomes a really interesting commentary on all of that stuff, because it kind of can allow people to question those assumptions. And I'm not going to leave it open-ended. I'll give you the real answers. Hitler rose to power because he was offering solutions to real problems that were not only not being addressed by the existing political structure, but in many cases were being pushed by the existing political structure. And that's the exact same thing that we see happening in the modern day in this movie, where people are concerned about immigration, their wages, crime, sort of the German identity, and he is offering solutions. Regardless of whether they'll work or not, the fact is he's offering solutions that the existing political structure that the people should be trusting are not offering. And so the way that you stop a Hitler or another Hitler from rising to power is do not allow problems to rise in society that only extremists will be willing to solve. And I think that I think in America, we very obviously find ourselves in a similar situation. In Germany, it's so interesting watching this movie 10 years later, because it just looks very future-seeing. Like, I think just today, I saw in the news that the AfD, which is the far right-wing party in Germany, just won the majority of seats in one of the German states for the first time. So, like, this movie kind of predated what in the last 2 to 3 years has been a massive rise in like alt-right parties in Germany. And I think it's very interesting of a movie because of that.
So, Tanner, what you're saying here is that there are a lot of parallels like being drawn between Hitler and Trump, and you are not a big fan that this film is attempting to give us ways of, stopping Trump from being elected.
There are parallels between them. I don't think Trump, that actually gets me off on another thing. Here's another problem. Is a lot of people like doing this thing where, they'll say, okay, if someone has A, B, and C, in common with Hitler, they must have X, Y, and Z. And for Hitler, we'll say X, Y, and Z is the extermination of the Jewish people. So people will say, Trump and Hitler both appeal to like populist beliefs. They're both like anti-foreigner, more or less, and they make loud speeches or whatever the fuck. Therefore, when the news or anyone like draws these parallels, they're trying to get you, the viewer, to jump to then Trump wants to exterminate the Jews. So like, yes, there are parallels between Hitler and Trump, and frankly, there are gonna be parallels between Hitler and any political leader, but just because there are a handful of parallels, that doesn't let you go then, okay, therefore, we're jumping straight to, these people also want to exterminate the Jews,
Based, all political Hitlers are...
political Hitlers.
I'm leaving it at that. No further comment from me.
You guys got any thoughts, or do you just want to talk about the movie now?
Oh, was that not talking about the movie?
It's movie adjacent. Okay. It's about why I find this film so interesting to watch.
It does say a lot about society, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I guess in terms if we're just talking about the movie, I have nothing to add to Tanner's conversation. I agree. Nice talk. Yeah, I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed the ending. It definitely feels like it took a big tonal shift at the end. When I like movies that do something like that, where it's kind of like a comedy, and then it like realizes it can be serious about something, and it does. And I think it executed the ending pretty well. I thought it was entertaining. It really has like a very foreboding message, which of course leads into what Tanner was talking about with the entirety of it. I thought it was an enjoyable film. I don't think it did anything like super crazy for me. I think the acting was pretty good from Hitler. He did a pretty swell job. The idea behind it's pretty silly, of course. They lean into the absurdity of it a lot. I thought it was enjoyable. I don't really have a ton to say.
Yeah, I agree more on the movie aspects. I thought it's very well acted and pretty smartly written overall.
Oh yeah, the fucking dude playing Hitler, I don't know his fucking name, some German guy. He's
some Italian guy.
Some Italian guy, never mind. Yeah, his portrayal of Hitler was definitely both like, a little humorous as well as just like generally unsettling how well he was able to pull it off.
Can we also just reflect on the amount of times they said the N-word in this movie for it being a exclusively white movie?
They only said the N-word once,
They said it twice or 3 times, actually, but,
Oh, okay.
For the amount of white people is what I was saying, but regardless.
I can't believe they had Hitler say the hard R N-word. How dare they?
Yeah, I guess, like, one thing that I thought was pretty neat was how, like, the film is, like, blurring the line between, like, the fiction of, like, the film and then, like, the reality of, like, our modern day world with, like, those interviews. And how that is also, like, kind of played off of, like, within the film itself, too. Like, the general narrative, where, like, they are also, like, making this other movie within this movie that's, like, kind of fucking with our expectations of, like, like, towards the end of it. When they are, like, fucking doing that thing where it's like, okay, I'm gonna execute you now, Hitler, you're fucking dead. And Hitler delivers his spine-chilling line at the end there. But then, that wasn't actually... That wasn't the ending of the movie. That was, like, the ending of the movie within the movie. What the fuck? It's crazy. I'm a big fan of that shit.
That's what I was talking about.
And, funnily, that line he says in that scene where it's like, oh, I'll always be a part of the German people or whatever. Now, the way they meant that is, like, in this stupid left-wing, like, original sin way where, like, oh, you can never truly wash yourselves clean of history or whatever. But I also agree with the sentiment, but more in the way of that, like, people are always going to... Let me rephrase this.
Hitler is like such a like massive figure within history that like the idea of him will always permeate it.
It was more so like the issues he was trying to address, aside from the Jew thing, will always be issues that are important to people. One thing I wanted to say is that like the biggest like problem that I think Hitler and Trump and many other like sort of right-wing leaders try to address is that people do not like being made to feel like they are foreigners in their own country. And any time that sort of sentiment becomes stronger and stronger, you are going to see the door open to like authoritarian type figures. And so in that way, I kind of took it that like, yes, this feeling in the German people that like, hey, this is our homeland. We have a specific set of like cultural beliefs and mores and whatever. We are going to always want to maintain that. And when faced with a threat to that, like mass immigration or various societal changes, there's going to be a part of us that is going to cling to someone like Hitler who says they will, make that go away, whether they can or not.
Much like a certain current candidate, you might say.
One last thing in regards to the actual... my only, like, real gripe with this movie... when he was... And this is also a point where I was like, is this part of their movie or is this part of our movie? When he was, like, reviewing his footage, when he was starting to put the pieces together, like, oh, maybe this is actually Hitler and somehow he time traveled. When he's, like, reviewing the footage and he sees, like, he's, like, rewinding, it's, like, smoke, and then the smoke turns into, like, a big flash of purple light... Are you telling me nobody, absolutely nobody saw that? Like, not even the guy filming what was going on? Like, is that...
Yeah, it was a little
remarked
wacky
on that, too.
It was just looked over a little bit. I was kind of like, that's a little unrealistic. Maybe if they made it a little... I figured he was gonna review the footage and see something subtle, but no, it was very blatantly obvious. There was some kind of random
There's
phenomena
a big ass
that happened
fucking
there.
orb there.
Yeah, I was like, how did anybody fucking miss that? But okay, whatever. I'm invested in this movie, so let's go, I guess.
You know, he was scrolling through the timeline. Maybe it happened for just like a single frame, so like no one was
Yeah.
able to catch it.
But no, it was a whole ass like fucking 10 seconds. But whatever.
As for our rankings, I suppose, Tanner, what do you think you're gonna be going for here?
I'm gonna give this one an A.
Wow, that's honestly lower than I was expecting you to give it.
Damn.
Jackson, how about you?
I'm giving it a B+.
Wow. Yeah, I think I'm definitely higher than you are. I think I'm gonna go between you guys for an A-.
Whoa. Yeah, I don't understand anything about politics, so I'm surprised that I enjoyed this movie at all. But he shot a fucking dog. This is an F-. I'm just kidding.
That shit was funny as fuck.
Dude, that was so fucked.
And when
yeah,
he had the dog and he was like making it say the N-word, that shit was hilarious.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It made me think a lot, which is something movies don't usually do. I gave this movie an A- as well.
You heard it here first, guys. Hitler makes Dylan think.
And that lands the movie at an A- overall.